Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Baseball Without Borders, the podcast from the World Baseball Network. I'm Leif Skodnick, joined by my colleague Matthew Tallerini, and it's Patriots Day. The Los Angeles Angels already facing the Boston Red Sox in action at Fenway Park as the Boston Marathon underway as well. What a great celebration of athletics it is today in the city of Boston. It's also the 68th anniversary of Roberto Clemente's Major League debut this day, April 17th, 1955. He first donned the black and gold for the Pittsburgh Pirates after he was hidden in Montreal with by the Brooklyn Dodgers organization the year before. Acquired by the Pirates in the Rule 5 draft, made the team out of camp, and there he was, on to become the first real Latin superstar in Major League Baseball. So, Matt, he's a guy that obviously is feted every September when they do the Roberto Clemente Award for baseball's best humanitarian, as well as, there's a baseball component to that too. But it's really about the humanitarian work he did when he was alive, and that unfortunately resulted in his death. Of course, he died after loading earthquake relief supplies, for Nicaragua onto a plane, and then got on the plane to make sure the supplies got where they were going. The plane crashed into the Caribbean on New Year's Eve, 1972. Of course, Clemente's body was never found, but, when we were at the World Baseball Classic down in Miami, that first game that we went to, Nicaragua versus Puerto Rico, it was absolutely incredible to see how Clemente is revered by both the Puerto Rican fans, because every other jersey you see there was either a Pirates jersey with a 21 on the back or a Puerto Rico jersey with a 21 on the back, and by Nicaragua fans who were wearing Nicaragua jerseys with Clemente's name and number on the back. And, of course, I wrote a piece about this that day, but, really, this is a guy who deserves every honor he gets just for what he did, both on the field and off.
Yeah, I mean, being at the World Baseball Classic for the first day in Miami, it was truly amazing that the World Baseball Classic Incorporated Committee did have that game as scheduled to open up Miami. I think it was phenomenal of all the jerseys we saw with, Nicaragua, Puerto Rico, some Delgado jerseys dwindling around because he did wear 21 throughout his career and in the first World Baseball Classic that Carlos Delgado played in. And, I think that, overall, I think Clemente does have the same stature as Jackie Robinson. And Major League Baseball, to honor those two key icons every season through the last, it's been 26 years since
the first Jackie Robinson Day at Shea Stadium.
Yeah, Shea Stadium, 1997. Like I said before, with honoring those two key icons, that it's truly magnifying of what Jackie Robinson did, not just on the field, but also off the field, and being a big civil rights pioneer of where America was during that, where the United States was during that time frame also. And, I think it's big to, keep talking about, Clemente and Jackie as time goes on, because they're forever legends in not just our sport, but American history, to be honest. So, what an honor it was to see everybody wear 42 on Saturday. The Dodgers beat the Chicago Cubs on a walk-off hit. So it was cool to witness that, on Jackie Robinson Day, for sure.
And just as an aside, why do they call it a walk-off? Because the losing team's the one that walks off, not the winning team. The losing team walks off the field. The winning team celebrates on the field. So, if you want to call it a walk-off loss for the Cubs, I'm okay with that. If you want to call it a walk-off win for the Dodgers, I'm not quite so sure. But I digress. That's the writer and editor in me. Let's do a little bit of a prospect report. We'll start with Brett Baty getting called up to Syracuse. Baty, I thought, should have made the Mets out of spring training. He was hitting really well in spring training, and then they sent him down, electing to put Eduardo Escobar at third base. Luis Guillorme is kind of the utility man role. And Luis Guillorme's bat is nowhere near where Brett Baty's bat is, and nowhere really near where Eduardo Escobar's bat is. Is he versatile? Yes. Can he play a bunch of different positions? Yes, but he's not really going to get you much offensively. Escobar, not really getting it done at the plate either. Baty forces Billy Epler's hand. Baty was batting .400 in AAA with 5 home runs, 15 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, an OPS of .1386. I get why they sent him down because they viewed him as a bit of a defensive liability. That said, I think his bat more than made up for it. I don't think he should have been down at all. But, Matt, what are your thoughts?
Playing in 9 games in AAA, he really showed a lot of the Mets front office advisors of why he is capable at playing at the major league level consistently. Yeah, he did hit .400, 5 home runs, driving in 15 runs batted. And I think that's a key component of what the Mets saw in him to start the season in AAA at Syracuse. So I think, like you said before about Brett Baty defensively, I don't think he's going to help in certain chances he's going to get defensively in the field. But I think, he brings a good value presence to the lineup, to the offensive lineup, let alone for the New York Mets. If, certain guys get hurt down the line, Baty could fill in a lot of crucial roles offensively and, possibly defensively, or of how Buck Showalter, fills in the lineup card, series in and series out.
Let's move on to Scranton, the New York Yankees affiliate, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. Andres Chaparro hitting very well there. I saw him a little bit. I was at a Scranton at Lehigh Valley game a couple weeks ago. Chaparro was in that game, didn't really do much in the game that I attended, but he's been hitting well. Your thoughts on him and whether he has a chance to be in the Bronx later this year?
Yeah, he's been working a lot of good counts in certain his at-bats. Yesterday, he had an 18-pitch at-bat that he drew a walk. I mean, what more can you ask for into someone that is trying to get up to the show progressively in his career? Yet, he is hitting .200, but, he is producing offensively. 6 home runs, 11 hits, 9 runs batted in. His OPS is .799. I think that, you can't look at his average as much, abysmally as it seems that in baseball, a lot of people love to talk about batting average, but there's a lot of advanced stats that more likely weigh out of the batting average stat itself. So I think that, Chaparro can produce at the major league level. It may not be this year that he gets a chance, but I think down the line, if it's even next year out of spring training, that he can make the team with the Yankees. But it's going to be tough with how packed the Yankees are this year with the infield they have.
And let's talk a little bit about Jake Bauers, who's a real kind of veteran presence for the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. He's got 328 games of major league experience, and he's doing really well down there for the Yankees. But he's not on the 40-man roster. His chances of being called up to the majors, there is a chance he's going to be in the major leagues again, and he's certainly playing well and probably could be in the major leagues again. He's hitting .325, .481, .875 is his triple slash line in 13 games. But he's also there at this point as a veteran presence around the younger guys that are in the Yankees organization. But, to see a guy like that getting it done, he's certainly a guy that could get called up, and he's also a guy that could find himself traded around the trade deadline if the Yankees need to go out and get another arm or need to get somebody, need a bat, and, a lesser team. Like, say the Yankees try to get Brian Reynolds from the Pirates. Bauers is a guy that the Pirates would certainly put in their major league lineup.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're batting .325 in the International League for AAA, I think, he can hit against certain pitching in Major League Baseball. And it would suit him to go to a National League Central team that might be in the mix of a wild card type of alignment, but he's batting .325, like I said before, 6 home runs, 13 runs batted in, swiped already 3 stolen bases, 13 hits he's recorded, and 40 at bats. I mean, yeah, Jake Bauers can honestly see himself in another sector of Major League Baseball. If it's not in the AL East, I think he can cross over tremendously to play in the NL Central or a team that's not going to be in crazy contention this season.
Okay, so let's talk about the biggest game outside of the United States this week. Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Roki Sasaki, the two best pitching prospects outside of the Americas, faced off in NPB action. Yamamoto is a guy we're expecting to ask to be posted after this season. So November or December, somebody is going to write him a 9-figure contract from Major League Baseball. We have to kind of figure. Sasaki, we've still got 3, maybe 4 years until we see Sasaki on this side of the Pacific. But what he has shown so far in the World Baseball Classic was unbelievable to watch. These are probably the two best pitching prospects outside of the major leagues right now, and they faced off. Matt, tell us a little bit about that game.
Yeah, so Friday night in Chiba, Japan, the Lotte Marines were the home team, and Roki Sasaki pitching in front of the home crowd. He pitched in 7 innings, allowed just 1 hit, no earned runs, walking 2 batters, and striking out 11. I mean, he pitched, as well as advertised that this game was, and I feel like the competition in the Pacific League, especially with the offenses that most of these teams have, like the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, like the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters, I feel like, Roki Sasaki is showing potential in the Pacific League, in Nippon Professional Baseball, that, he can pitch against major league hitters that we even saw in the World Baseball Classic. He pitched reasonable against Mexico, could have been a little bit better, but Friday, he showed his stuff. I mean, in the second start, he showed his stuff against that tough Nippon Professional Champion, defending champions, Oryx Buffaloes.
They're not the Blue Wave anymore. Yeah. They are the Buffaloes.
Yeah, Ichiro's former team was the Blue Wave. It was neat to see how his mechanics were dialing in from Friday. Yoshibo Yamamoto for Oryx, he pitched 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 1 earned run, walked 1 batter, and struck out 9 batters. He's going to cusp his time in Major League Baseball. He's won the EJ Sawamura Award, which is the Cy Young Award in Nippon Professional Baseball. He's been an all-star a few times in his career. I think that he can pan out to be in the majors next year.
He won 2 Sawamura Awards back-to-back, which is, not an easy accomplishment. It's like winning the Cy Young back-to-back. Not a lot of people do it.
Right.
And, obviously there have been plenty of great pitchers that came over from Japan and didn't make it over here. But, it certainly looks like he has the potential to make it over here, and it's going to be interesting. We're going to find out in just about 8 months.
For sure.
Just how much money he is going to get paid to come over here. All right, so 13 games into the season, the Tampa Bay Rays had not lost. Then they went to Toronto and lost 2 games and the series, leaving the Yankees as the only team that has not lost a series this year. However, first of all, the Tampa Bay Rays, what they've done so far this year has been just unbelievable to watch. Their run differential, they're still at plus 72, even with the 2 losses. They're going to Cincinnati this week, so they're probably going to win all 3 of those. They're going to have some trouble with the White Sox later in the week because the White Sox are a good team. But I think that, what the Rays did, unbelievable start to the season, and, you'd much rather have that start to the season than losing 13, because once you've lost 13 games, you're 13 games below 500. You're going to have a hard time clawing it back.
It's a rough climb if that was the case in reverse patterns for the Tampa Bay Rays, but the Blue Jays are right behind them. Blue Jays are 9-5. I mean, their offense is really starting to come around. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's swinging the bat well. Bo Bichette swinging the bat well. Matt Chapman, he's playing well defensively as well, and he's swinging the bat well. And I think, having that type of core lineup, that the Rays had to face over this week, and I think that was a big wake-up call for Tampa to say, all right, yes, we're in first place in the AL East, but the Blue Jays are right behind us with what the talent they have, and maybe the Yankees too come the stretch of this month as well to begin the season. But Jose Barrios pitched well Friday. What more can you ask? 5 innings, allowed 4 hits, walked no batters, 1 earned run, striking out 6 batters, and the job that the Blue Jays bullpen did on Friday to stop the Rays offense was, as phenomenal as it was, especially with Jordan Romano closing it out, to end the game. So, and to salvage, the Rays' first loss. But, I think it was good that Tampa needs this wake-up call. Any team that is starting out undefeated, you need to lose a series to kind of regain yourself on what to expect down the line, and especially in the first month of a 162-game season, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, let's look back at the schedule that the Rays had played. They opened the season with Detroit, then went to Washington, hosted the A's, hosted the Red Sox, and, the Tigers aren't going to be good this year. The Nationals are, I think, picked to finish dead last, have the worst record in baseball by a lot of pundits this year. The A's just playing out the string in Oakland. And the Red Sox aren't really expected to be competitive for the AL East title this year. I mean, they might back their way into a wild card spot if they're lucky, but no one thinks that they're really going to be competing for the AL East title. However, the Blue Jays are expected to be competing for the AL East title. A lot of people picking them to go to the World Series. And so, it was good for the Rays to get 13 games against, some of the bottom half of Major League Baseball's teams before playing a competitive team like the Blue Jays. But yeah, that'll wake you up. Like, oh, there are teams that we're going to have to play a lot that are not as easy to beat as the Nationals, the A's, the Tigers. And so, if this gets Tampa Bay going down the stretch, I mean, if they reel off another, string of games like this where they go 12-1, 10-2, something like that, they're going to be 17, 18 games above 500 in the middle of May. And then what? Like, when you're that high, the only place you can go is down, obviously. But, it's certainly nice to have that big a cushion this early in the season.
Yeah, it's got to be consistent towards the All-Star break too. I mean, yeah, it's key to in baseball. You have to deal out on series that you have to win, especially in your division. If you're taking 3 out of 4 from the Orioles in Tampa's case, 3 out of 4 from maybe the Yankees down the stretch. Those are series you got to win. You got to equal out to where you want to see potential down the line into October. It's key that Tampa is on that type of streak, and also that they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Toronto Blue Jays this past weekend. I think, it's only going to help a team like that did start out hot to begin the season regain its confidence towards the end of April for sure, and down the line of the 162-game season.
All right, well, Matt, what are you looking forward to the rest of this week?
There's some good baseball on this week. I'm looking forward to seeing what the Yankees are pretty much confident in doing during this next stand. I think the Angels coming down 95 to play the Yankees. I think it's gonna be interesting to see what adapts to the Angels pitching staff. I think it was key that Patrick Sandoval did have a good World Baseball Classic, and let alone he did have a good spring training, even coming back after the World Baseball Classic and prior to the World Baseball Classic. And Patrick Sandoval has been pitching consistent too for the Angels. So I think, he's going to be doing well, or whatever alignment he has for the rotation during the course of this week. The Mets going out to Chavez Ravine. That's a huge series for the Mets. I think, what's at stake for them to really make a run in the NL East with the Braves in the mix and the Phillies. I think that the Mets are going to have to really, either take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers or really stick one good to Dave Roberts' squad. I think in order to, I think when you go out west, I think that's the momentum raise of where your season's going to end up. If they have a good West Coast trip, even though it is April, it is early, I think they are bound to be above 500 come the Midsummer Classic.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go out west. And the Mets, let me pull up the schedule here, but the Mets are going to face the Dodgers, as you said. Mm-hmm. And then after they were at the Angels, or pardon me, they were at the Athletics this past weekend and took all 3 games from the A's, including Friday night. They drew 16 walks, 17 walks. It was 17 walks in that game, and it seemed like all of those runs came home. Dodgers this week, then the Giants later in the week before they come back to face the Nationals. It's the one trip they make out there, and it's their real chance to get some wins on the board. They're going to face the Dodgers, who obviously are going to be competing for the AL West title with the Padres.
National League.
AL West, NL West, yeah. It's all the same to me these days,
all quirky. Right? Diamondbacks.
The leagues, the leagues are really name-only leagues right now. So there's no separate league entity anymore. So yes, the NL West. Thank you. The Dodgers will be competing with the Padres, and to a lesser extent, the Diamondbacks and the Giants, I think, for the title. But I think this is a good chance for the Mets to go out there, be away from the spotlight of New York for a little bit. Although certainly there's plenty of heat in LA when you're playing the Dodgers, but it'll be a good opportunity for the Mets to maybe pick up a couple wins after sweeping the A's. So that'll be interesting. And then I'm looking forward to seeing Ohtani pitch against the Yankees this week.
Yeah,
looks like probably going to be Saturday or Sunday. If he's pitching today in Boston.
Well, they'll play this week. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh, so he will not be pitching against the Yankees this week. You're right.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that was a longer series, and they were in Boston. So now I really sound stupid. But that's beside the point.
But we just corrected ourselves. Yes. It's fine.
Yeah, we caught it. So anyway, we'll be back on Thursday with another edition of Baseball Without Borders. We'll talk a little bit about the story I'm doing about starting pitchers who play golf. And we'll also talk a little bit about the Mexico City series that's coming up. I'm going to have a couple of pieces advancing that this week. And, more of just what's going on around Major League Baseball and baseball around the world.
Yeah, and this week is La Liga Mexicana de Baseball starts April 20th. And we will have certain write-up alignment articles too this week.
Yeah, so we'll let you know how you can stream those games. And I think we've been talking about going down to Laredo to do a story about Tecolotes de los Dos Laredos, the only team in the Mexican League that plays half of their home games at 2 stadiums, one of them being in the United States. So you don't even have to leave the country to see Mexican League baseball. And we're going to do that sometime this year, which should be a lot of fun. I've finally gotten the breakdown on when. It's interesting because if they play a 3-game series, they'll play 2 games in Laredo and 1 in Nuevo Laredo,
right?
Or vice versa. So it'll be pretty neat. I think we'll be able to go down and catch a game in both ballparks and do a really neat story about that, because I think the border region of Texas is in the news a lot. But I think it's something that people don't know a lot about. And I think that, Mexican League Baseball, it's a very, very good baseball league. It was classified as AAA for a long time when it was part of the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues. And although it's not anymore, it's still terrific baseball.
Right. And it's almost been around for 100 years, which is truly amazing to see how their product is evolving. And it could cater to a lot of American fans down the line with the streaming and the side of what we're gonna write about for all fans to cater into Liga Mexicana de Baseball.
Yeah, if you're a big scene head, there's no reason to not watch Mexican League Baseball when it's on. It's not terrible. It's it's probably, I think, almost better than AAA at this point. Because you get a lot of veteran guys that have major league experience that are playing down there because they're getting more money than they would to play in AAA.
Yeah, and Jorge Cantu just retired from he was on Diablos de Rojos Mexico last year. That team has 16 titles in La Liga Mexicana de Baseball. That's the most out of every franchise now in Liga Mexicana de Baseball. And we'll be at their stadium next week. So it'll be cool to touch around certain history alignments of why global baseball is important. I think it's going to be neat life to see that team museum in their stadium, and the components of how, baseball on the radio was huge in Latin America 55 years ago and plus. And Diablos de Rojos, they were one of the first teams besides Aguilas Cibaeñas, who is located in Santiago, Dominican Republic. That's a Winter League circuit organization. But the Diablos de Rojos Mexico team had stars like Ray Dandridge, who was a big Negro League star in the 40s.
Hall of Famer Ray Dandridge.
Hall of Famer that played in Mexico during the 40s. And those, that history traction is huge in baseball. And, we look forward to doing certain segments to everyone next week on why the Diablos de Rojos had so much history in the turn of the century in our sport.
Going to be a really cool trip, and we're looking forward to that. And, of course, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, World Baseball Network. He's Matt Tallerini. I'm Leif Skodnick. We'll be back on Thursday with another edition of Baseball Without Borders. So until then, smoke 'em inside.